What does the future look like for Jamar Chase and Zac Taylor in Cincinnati? We've got that and more today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase.
Joe, how was your Thanksgiving?
You know, I'm assuming it was really, really good. I've already forgotten what I did. How was the Dolphins? Did the Dolphins beat the Packers?
It was everything you hoped it would be.
Yeah.
The joke here is we're recording on Wednesday, so we don't know how Thanksgiving was. We don't know how the game was, but we're here doing a takes on takes. Joe solicited the takes earlier in the week on social media at the Joe Marino, and you provided your hot takes. So if you're not familiar with takes on takes, it's the mailbag episode. You give us your hot takes, and we give our takes on your hot takes. And Joe's got the list. I have no idea what they are, and we're going to go from there.
All right, let's do it. Takes on takes. First one from Peter, who says the Cincinnati Bengals should re-sign Jamar Chase, move on from Zac Taylor, and hire Joe Brady as their new head coach to complete the LSU Trinity. Taylor has seemingly lost the locker room. Ping pong tables won't fix that. And the Bengals have a history of, and I actually don't have the rest of the take, but you get the gist here. Re-sign Jamar Chase, move on from Zac Taylor, hire Joe Brady.
This would be really fun. I think it'd be fun to put Joe Brady back where, they obviously all had so much success. They've each matured individually with their own pathways to this point in the NFL. I don't know. He's an offensive-minded coach, and I know there's a reason why they're not good, but like Joe Burrow from a production standpoint, are you going to walk away from that? I don't know that Mike Brown would. Yeah. I don't know that he would be incentivized to do it. I think that's part of the issue for the Bengals over the last two successful builds that they've had with Joe Burrow when he first came into the league and when it was Andy Dalton was probably apathy, right? I don't think there's any reason to believe that would change now.
I think one of the biggest issues with this is that Zac Taylor is signed through 2026. And I know there's no salary cap for coaching, but it's the Bengals are one of the cheapest organizations in the NFL. They're going to pay Zac Taylor 2 seasons to not coach.
Tim will come in the comments and correct you if you get the name wrong.
Sure. Yeah, I got that. But do we need to be mindful of that? Are they going to move on from a coach that, for whatever, maybe this sounds silly to you, but for a coach that has taken the team to the Super Bowl?
That I'm agreeing with you wholeheartedly in that, they had the Joe Burrow injury last year and still finished 9-8. I think the defensive regression has been super alarming. I think there's a bigger conversation to have about this team's inability to run the football with Zac Taylor, right. But that's not a surprise.
Right.
Like the entire offensive ideology was built on Burrow's elite traits as a player and how it meshes with your big-bodied wide receivers.
Joe Burrow's playing the best football of his career right now.
Right.
Are they going to move away from the head coach?
No, I don't think they would.
And
but it's a fun idea.
The other side of this conversation is the Joe Brady factor. He's like the betting odds number one candidate for the Saints, betting odds number one candidate for the Bengals. I mean, obviously, I've enjoyed Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator for the Bills. I think Joe
go coach the Saints just to
he's
go back.
He's not going to the Saints. That will not happen.
Not going to take that job.
No. Obviously, Joe Burrow makes it different, but Am I crazy to think that like the re-glow up for Joe Brady feels a little bit early to me?
I don't think you're crazy for feeling that way, but I feel like you probably only feel as strongly as you do about that because of what happened with the last offensive coordinator.
Sure. And isn't there like a player coach trend right now in the league? And Joe Brady's not that, right? Joe Brady's not a super like charismatic dude, like kind of reserved, quirky guy. Like
if Joe Brady wants a head coaching job, I think he'll get one this cycle, though.
He's got to take it, though. And I don't think the Bengals is going to be available.
Right.
Waka Flocka Bach. Detroit has the number 1 scoring offense and number 2 scoring defense. Ben Johnson is the premier head coach candidate in the NFL. But given the Lions losing Hutchinson, Davenport, Barnes, and Anzalone, starting a rookie cornerback and 2 guys new to the team this season, Aaron Glenn has done more with less and should be a head coach.
Aaron Glenn should 1,000,000% be a head coach because he's got that thing you just got done talking about too. The aura, as the kids say, right? Like he's got it. Very intense individual, but loves his players hard too. He might be my favorite coach candidate in this cycle.
Yeah, for me too. You get him and Ray Agnew, it'd be a nice little situation for your football team. I'm in on that for sure. Excuse me. Joe at work gets us the Thanksgiving take here. The most important thing on a Thanksgiving table is good gravy. You add the turkey drippings, add stock for proper thickness, kill the heat, sprig off fresh herbs, salt and pepper to taste. Any bad Thanksgiving dish can be salvaged by good gravy.
I don't consume gravy, so the steak is not for me.
I'm not a gravy guy either. My mother's crazy about it. Like, it's got to have it. But like for me, I don't know. I just don't use it.
Do you just feel like you're just drinking salt?
I feel like I'm adding an unnecessary flavor. Like I don't even put it on mashed potatoes. I'm not a gravy guy.
Yeah. So this is a let people like things program.
Yeah.
I'm not going to dump on gravy. We'll dump on other things that egregiously nobody should like, but I think you have a right to like gravy. So it's just not.
You've earned the right to like gravy. Yeah, you've earned the right just not for me or you. I didn't know where you were going to fall on that, but
no.
Yeah. It's like, just eating gravy. It's like, I don't know. I'm out on that too. Okay. Plenty more to get to, including some Jaguars stuff, AFC South, a little draft conversation. So be sure to stick with us. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need in one place to place live bets on the NFL. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet over at FanDuel.com. And look, we just did the pick show earlier this week where we went through all the different lines on FanDuel. I really like Tennessee plus 5.5. I actually like the money line this week against Washington. And Kyle and I both like the Steelers as road underdogs in Cincinnati. We like that money line as well. So check it out. You can do the live betting as well, player props, so much fun. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, let's keep it going here. Matt says, Shad Khan not firing Doug Pederson midseason is kind of genius. It's helping ensure they lose games to improve their draft pick, probably #1 at this rate. And even though the vibes and culture are bad now and the new GM and coaching staff should be able to reset it.
I'm inclined to agree. I think I made this argument a couple weeks ago. What leverage do you have? What motivation do you have to facilitate this change now if you're Jacksonville?
Get ahead of the search, I guess, right?
Yeah, culture, right? And where do you stand on that argument of team culture? And because I know that's a big bit of pushback at times, is like if you accept the inevitability of a season and you're passive towards making a change, players become more apathetic, and then that culture can carry over year over year.
I don't know. I think careers in the NFL are so fragile that everything you do matters. Every game you play, every rep that's on tape, it matters. And so I would like to think that the players that understand that and want to love football and want to play for as long as possible in the NFL, they're going to put their best foot forward regardless of what happens there. And I think it's a reasonable thing to talk about, but I don't know if you can't get motivated to perform at your best in the National Football League with all that's at stake, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Right. I'm in the same boat you are.
Yeah, the only thing that's interesting to me about this idea of like if you were to fire Doug Pederson is like what I said, like go hire Bill Belichick right now and allow him to kind of sort through it. And maybe that comes at a cost of not having the number one pick. I don't know, but that's
do you think Bill would do that? Or do you think Bill would want to know what all of his options are for jobs?
You think he kind of knows though, don't you? He can survey the landscape.
Yeah, but it's the interview process playing out. I mean, and it's not like you could just hire Bill Belichick. You still have to honor the hiring policies in the NFL.
Right. But
so what candidate, you can't talk to anybody else that's in the league. Like this is not a time in which you're allowed to have contact with coaches on other teams.
Yeah, that'd be pretty unprecedented. You could talk to people though. You can they'd be unserious candidates, I guess, to check boxes.
That would for the spirit of what the hiring policies and purposes are in place. I don't think anybody wants to go down that route because that making more of a farce of it than it already is at times,
right,
would be really a nasty thing to do, I think.
Why don't we see this more though? It's not normal for a team like Jacksonville to hold on to their coach. We've already seen the Jets and the Saints do this. Like, is this going to be a new trend where teams are like, well, we want to tank and we don't want to bump. We don't want someone coming in there trying to showcase their opportunity to run the team,
right,
and get everyone all fired up. Let's just stay in the dumpster.
Well, I think the Jets did it early enough that you knew why they did it.
Right. They were looking for a spark.
Right. I don't have any confidence to say if it's going to be a trend or not.
Yeah. Something to monitor, something to think about moving forward. Eric says this is pretty aggressive. The Colts will steal the division away from the Texans.
Oh, okay.
Who will then just miss the playoffs like the Jags did last year. Both have the bye week 14, and afterwards the Colts have a significantly more friendly last 4 games than Houston.
All right. So the Colts right now are 5-7. I just picked them to lose in New England this week.
I did not.
Yeah. So you think they can get to 6-7?
I do.
Then they're at Denver.
I don't like that.
Okay. So now they're 6-8. Then they have home against Tennessee and Jacksonville and at New York Giants. I think they will lose at least one of the last 3 games.
Just because they're not that good of a team, so you don't give them the benefit of the doubt?
Right.
Okay, so let's do that. If you can meet me on beating the Patriots, I can meet you at losing one of the last 3.
And that will put them at 8-9.
Okay.
I don't think that's going to win the division.
What does Houston got to do? Houston already has 7 wins, right?
And Houston's beat the Colts twice.
So
we need to find 2 more wins. Really only 1 more win for Houston. If we think Indy finishes 8-9, we need to find 1 more win for Houston because they have 7 wins right now.
Right, and they're probably going to win this week, don't they? Play some
Jacksonville.
Yeah, the tiebreaker thing makes this real tough on the Colts. I would say this is not going to happen.
I mean, Houston would have to go. I mean, the Colts would have to probably get to 10 for there to be any realistic chance that this happens. Because that would be like Houston would have to finish 9-8 and then miss the playoffs on the wild card.
Yeah, which I think they probably would under those circumstances.
So Houston at Jacksonville, Miami at Kansas City, Baltimore at Tennessee. It's tough. It's a tough 4-game stretch to close.
Right. But if they win this week, it's probably going to
be done no matter what. Yeah.
Vontel says Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle from Ole Miss, is special. He might not get drafted in the top 10, but he's a top 10 talent. In my opinion, he's better than Mason Graham.
I don't think he's better than Mason Graham, but it does take you back to that 19 draft class. the Quinnen, Ed Oliver, Dexter Lawrence, Jeffrey Simmons, Christian Wilkins. I think this has the potential to be that kind of class. I mean, think about it.
They're all pretty good too.
Right.
All really good. Yeah.
Right. But you have a nose tackle, abnormally athletic nose tackle. Sounds like who?
Ed. Or Dexter Lawrence. Yeah.
Dexter Lawrence. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking Ed Oliver at Houston was like a.
So Dexter
tackle.
Lawrence, that's the Kenneth Grant player.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mason Graham, I think, has a lot of parallels to Christian Wilkins as a player. Walter Nolan, who you want to put him on that spectrum?
Maybe Quinnen, but like that feels
he's aggressive. Not. We'll acknowledge he's not Quinnen Williams, but like the stylistic version of play has some overlap there. Are you going to classify Shamar Stewart at 290 pounds as an interior guy?
Better question for you.
I guess my Tylik Williams from Ohio State. I know Dane Brugler really likes him. I'm a little cooler on him, but he's another like big-bodied 320, 330-pound guy. I think all of these guys can be good. I think this has the potential to be that kind of class. And Walter Nolan, with the disruptive profile that he has, would obviously be a name that would work out that way. And if he does work out, then he's going to have a lot of backfield production and splash production because that's how he plays and how he needs to win, to be unleashed and be the best version of himself.
Another draft take here. This one comes from Matt. I want to lump it together with one from Michael. Matt says,
okay,
the Tet McMillan comp nobody is talking about is Cortland Sutton. Michael continues to say McMillan is a better prospect than Drake London coming out. With the explosion of wide receiver money this offseason, he will be the most coveted player in this draft after Hunter and the two top quarterbacks go. His comp is Mike Evans.
My comp is neither one of those players.
Yeah, those kind of seem very aggressive to me.
I don't think Cortland Sutton's too aggressive. I've George Pickens.
Do you? I had T. Higgins is the name that I had written down. I just checked my notes.
Okay. I think he's a little looser than T.
Probably. He's a unique player, right?
Yes, he is a unique player. One of the longest scouting reports that I wrote thus far, like from a words perspective. This guy had a lot to say. You can read the whole thing over at 3013. It is up and present. But just the quick synopsis. Teams looking to work the ball downfield will find ball tracking ability, catch radius, and ability to win, stack vertically down the field, attractive, and that's his most immediate impact to success. As he develops more as a route runner, McMillan has the ability to become a featured centerpiece of a passing offense, although that development feels like it should unfold across his first few seasons. As he develops, it should still be considered a day one starter coming into the league.
You think he's a man coverage winner? Like
I think he has to develop to be that.
Yeah.
And that was the his coverage, like his coverage splits actually, when you look at man versus zone, are pretty eye-opening. The success against cover one relative to it was the only bucket of coverage in which his successful target rate was below 60%, and most of the other ones were in like the 70% range. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that there's a significant dip against cover one, like man coverage, for like successful targets in his area.
It feels like, I think he's a good prospect, but to call him the most coveted player after Travis Hunter and the quarterbacks, I mean, maybe he goes in that range. But
maybe the next most coveted offensive player, I guess Genty. But positional value.
When you think like premier top 5 receivers, man, I don't know. I kind of think about like Jamar Chase. I think about
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't.
Oh, you mean in the draft?
Like prospect. Marvin Harrison Jr. I thought the world of that guy.
You could put Neighbors in that bucket too. It's just bad luck he came out the same year as Marvin.
Sure. So I don't know. I just don't have the same. I like McMillan. I just don't feel like I put him in that type of stratosphere. And maybe that says more about this class, but
He is my 8th ranked player right now.
yeah, that feels right to me. But that would say no. You don't agree that he's the most coveted player after Hunter and the quarterbacks.
Ashton Genty's the only offensive player I have graded higher than him, unless you put Travis Hunter in that bucket.
All right, coming up on the other side of it, more, including some fantasy football discussion. Be sure to stick with us. There's nothing like being at the stadium, folks, watching your favorite team score touchdowns, your favorite quarterback throw touchdowns. Well, if you want to get there, then you got to get the Game Time app. Game Time is the fast and easy way to purchase tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. The app is incredible. They give you flash deals. They specialize in last-minute tickets. If you want to see what the venue is going to look like from the seat that you pick, you can get a picture of that. Plus, when you buy a ticket, they send it straight to your phone, so you have to dig through emails to find it. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time.
Just what everybody's hoping for is us talking about fantasy football. I can't wait to figure out what the takes related to that you chose to put it on the show.
I did for a reason. We'll get to that in just a second. This first one comes from it's the Daniel Jones news, right?
Yeah, it is.
I know it's on a Wednesday, but you
saw it.
I saw it, and I was like, I don't know. We're recording this on Wednesday. This podcast is going to drop on Friday, but welcome. He's the
Pretty Ricky was right again.
The new man on the Minnesota Vikings.
New man on the Minnesota.
Daniel Jones.
Danny Dimes. What a collection. What a collection. J.J. McCarthy, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones.
Yeah, first-round quarterback and a couple guys rehabbing.
This is all the affirmation you need. Darnold's going to go cash out somewhere else. J.J. will come in, and Danny will be the backup next year.
You think that'll be the situation? I like Kevin O'Connell, man. Player coach, dude.
Yep.
They're all the rage. Who's getting Vrabel, man? That's the question. This one from Dolphins Craze. Aaron Brewer is a top 5 center in the NFL. I'll say this. Aaron Brewer to the Dolphins has been everything I feared it would be. Guy's good, man. He's really good for that team in how they run the ball. The range is off the charts. The way that he gets on top of the second level, the way that he gets on top of DBs, insane. He's absolutely insane. How do you Frank Ragnow, Tyler Linderbaum, Creed Humphrey?
I want to do the thing.
I guess.
All right, Creed belongs in front of.
I would say the three that I just said for sure off the top of my head.
Frank Ragnow for sure. Tyler Linderbaum, yes. Ryan Kelly still got it?
No.
Might be it. Kelsey's gone.
Yeah, Kelsey's gone. What are we thinking here? Who else are we slotting above? I have the center depth chart. It finally took me like 45 minutes. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. There, not in this division.
That might be it. He might
not
be
this division.
Center football.
Well, so Cushenberry's hurt. That's only one more.
I might take Brewer over Cushenberry anyway.
Not
in every offense.
Not in every offense.
Situation that he's in.
Right. Yeah, I think it's probably a good take. Yeah. Not bad. A little 3-year, $21 million deal, man.
Brother.
On Aaron Brewer.
I'm going to do an extension tomorrow. Like, he's been that good. He's been awesome.
Annoying player.
Did you see him smoke that Patriots DB on the HN screen?
Yep. I've been seeing it. Jake says there will be 2 divisions that get 3 teams into the playoffs this year: the NFC North and either the AFC North or the AFC West. I don't think so.
I think the NFC North gets 3.
I think so, but I don't think you get the other one.
You think the West falls apart? Think they beat themselves up? I don't think the AFC North gets it for sure.
Yeah, I only need one more. Yeah, I think the Chargers and the Broncos are probably going to go. I don't know about the Broncos, though. I think the Dolphins can knock out the Broncos. That would be the one that I think could happen. It's possible. I think it's possible. It's up to...
I will say no based off the fact that, like, they're both in the driver's seat right now. And just like you got done talking about, like, the playoff turnover from week 12 to end of season. I'll say statistically speaking, I'll bet the odds and say it doesn't happen for both divisions.
Here's the fantasy football take, courtesy of August. Fantasy football, while fun, has been detrimental to the general understanding of the game of football for the average fan. Casual fans now hyper-focus on stats, like targets and snaps, don't bother with scheme, game plan, or other nuanced aspects of the sport.
Yes.
You've obviously affirmed that. But here's what I'll say. I greatly appreciate the interest that fantasy football has brought to the NFL. And I think that through that, there has been a lot of people that have loved the game more and have learned that piece of it to help with their fantasy football components. And I think you're seeing that show up more and more in companies that do fantasy football analysis. So I like how it's trending, but this is true.
I think I'm glad you made the point about there's the media shift in fantasy.
Super good.
Content and focus and education, and how instead of everybody has a set of ranking, everybody has a PPR formula, and this like that value is not there for me. But I know, like our guy Ray Garvin, right? Like there's a fantasy focus with what they do with Destination Devy, but it's really smart football talk. And like things like that, fantasy points, right?
Graham Barfield's unbelievable with what he puts together with scheme and those fantasy points.
Underdogs doing some amazing stuff.
Yes.
All of those kinds of places that are doing creative, new, intelligent content to help you not just understand what the market rate is or economics of half-point PPR running backs versus super flex QB2s, like all that stuff. Instead of doing that kind of fantasy focus, which is, I think, is what it really felt like it was as recently as just a couple years ago.
Right.
To what we're getting now. I'm glad you made that point because that is a great point.
People like the people challenged the status quo and said, how can we be better with this? And they're figuring it out, and I think it's been good for the space. But yeah, we got some work to do on some of these people. Last one here. This has been a multi-week conversation. This comes from Bo. Bo says the naming. What's that?
Jets.
It's not the Jets. Nothing about the Jets. This is nothing. This is about this podcast and what we're going to call.
It's about
what we're going to call the listeners, right? We kind of have been talking about this.
Yeah.
So he's got naming crew ideas, which you and I have actually
naming crew ideas.
naming the crew ideas. He has the double D'ers, double D scouters, and double D everydayers. We got to call them the double Ds, right?
Yeah, just call them the double Ds.
The double Ds. The listeners of this podcast, you are the double Ds.
That could be dude or dudette.
Exactly right.
It's a non-disqualifier. That might be it. I don't know.
Double Ds. Can it be beat? If you think it can be beat, YouTube.
The name of our fan base, our listener base.
Double Ds, baby.
That's going to do it for us on a Black Friday episode of Locked On NFL Scouting. I'm Kyle Crabbs. He is Joe Marino. We appreciate you guys, as always, for checking out the show. Make it a great weekend. Enjoy all of the football that is ahead. Last regular season week of college football, in addition to week 13 of the NFL season. So make the most of it. Enjoy it. And we'll be back on Monday to break down all of the action after it has unfolded.